Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Charles Ife. I will be the one coordinating the project management professional exam prep for you today. This presentation has been done courtesy Charles and Gold Consulting. This is the revised version for 2016. Let's get to know you and let's also get to know why you're here. We want you to fill up the discussion section of the program. We need to know your name. Please introduce yourself, your business, your project management experience, which is key to the Type 5 hours and requirement for the exam. We also need to know your expectation for the course. I believe you've done that, and the other people on this session of the training have done so. Now let's go to the training objectives. At the end of this training, we expect participants will have the knowledge of the following. Number one, Project Management Institute Pinball Guide, 5th edition, the PMI membership and certification requirement, the project management framework, the 5 process group of project management, the 10 important knowledge areas of project management, the professional and social responsibility of a PNP. And this program provides us the 5-hour educational requirements to qualify you for the exam, and definitely you know how to manage a project. Now, these are course content. We have about 427 pages to go through. Now, let's start with introduction to project management. Now, what we want to do at this point is to create an assessment program wherein we could use the results to evaluate the position we have right now, so that at the end of the day, at the end of this training, we could say that we have moved from position A to position B. Now we will be looking at 10 questions, and these 10 questions will be in 12 minutes, which means that we have about 1 minute for each question. Now we'll also cover the scope of the PMBOK guide, which is the 6th edition. Now we expect that you will take the correct answer among the choices. We have about 4 of them. We have A, B, C, D. So please just choose any of the 4, and this will give us an outlook to knowing where your experience has been and where you need to be in the future. Now, introduction to Project Management Institute. The institute is the biggest project management institute in the world. It has membership that cuts across several professionals with chapters in more countries across the continent. Now we have also have a chapter in Nigeria. Now, development and enhancement of the project management profession via e-learning, seminars, certification like what you're doing now, research, standards, publications. So we have publications, magazines that come out of this institute. Now, the project management body of knowledge, which is called PMBOK. Please note, this is not the project management book of knowledge. This is a basic questions that come during the exam. You say, what is PMBOK? The PMBOK is the project management body of knowledge, not the book of knowledge. It's a standard for managing projects. So it is not an authority that makes it compulsory for you to use what they have advised you to use. It is a standard. It's something that has been standardized for all industries, across all industries. It's also a standard that describes the project management processes, tools, techniques that can be used to manage a project towards a successful outcome. Now, let's simply talk about the PMI membership. How much is expected of you? The PMI membership means that you are recognized as someone who is serious about your professional and social personal development. It's actually shows that you have you're going to practice ethically while doing your project management, because you're under a body All of these factors give you an edge in the job market, which we know, and distinguish you from one employer to another employer. Now, it's going to distinguish you to your employer, colleagues, and stakeholders because they expected that you have the knowledge. Also, it's important to say that the membership fee is $139, while the renewal after 3 years is $129. The PMI Nigerian chapter requires you to pay a $30 annually. Now, how will you know if you're eligible to write the PMI exam, which is called PMP? Now, the first is educational background. You must have high school diploma or associate degree or global equivalent, or basically when you have a bachelor degrees or its equivalent, it suffices. Project management experience, you need to have a maximum of 5 years to 60 months unique non-overlapping professional project management experience, during which at least 7,000 of them, 7,500 hours of them where must have been spent leading and directing project tasks, or a minimum of 3 years for people that don't have a lot of experience, that must be non-overlapping, and that must be at least 4,500 hours leading and directing project tasks. The last one is that you must have 35-hour contact formal education, and that's what you have in right now. So congratulations. The exam fee, we have $405 for members after you've paid the $139. Remember, we talked about in the previous slide. Now, for non-members, we have to pay $555 for PMP, but for CAPM, which is the lower version of the PMP, you pay $225 as a member. Remember, recall you must have paid $139. Then, for a non-member, you have to pay $300. The exam questions for PMP and CAPM is kind of different. For PMP, we have about 200 questions. For CAPM, we have 150. But it's important to note that for the PMP exam, there are about 25% questions. These are multiple choice questions that have been set and put and included in the questions, not to test you as well for the exam, but to test your knowledge and how they could use this question in the next exam for the next candidate or next group of people. So those 25% questions will not be part of what they'll be assessing you on. Now, the duration for the exam is 4 hours for the PMP, while it's 3 hours for the CAPM. The pass score is 61%, which only shows you whether you passed or you failed. For the CAPM, we have about 65%, which also shows you either a pass or a failure. Now, we're going to cover 5 process group areas, which we're going to talk about very soon. We're also going to look at the 10 knowledge areas and their processes. Now, the 2 other areas we're going to talk about are the framework and the professional and social responsibility. Now, for the exam, the following are in and out scope. The exam tests your understanding of the pinball guard, so it serves as the #1 material for the exam, and also tells your processes, regardless of the one you use and how you use them at work, as well as the ability to know how to deal with these processes in situational questions. So the assumption is that PMI believe that you've had experience in a project, and you should be able to handle situational issues as they arise on the project. So you need to know the formulas for each of these knowledge areas. We also need to know the terms and definition of some of the terminologies that are within the each knowledge area. You need to be familiar with how to recognize the definition of a given term as well as a situation. We also need to be familiar with the documents such as a charter, a WBS, which is a work breakdown structure, a schedule that PMI uses in the methodology. Now, how do we prepare for the exam? You need to practice a text. Like I tell people, most of the time, practice does not make perfect, but it makes you better. So you need to practice a number of test questions. When taking practice questions, focus on the speed at which you complete the question. On average, you have about 72 seconds per question, so you need to be careful how much you spend on each question. You your mind will also be accustomed to processing question at a pace that is above normal. You need to know that as you graduate from question one to question two, your mind begins to flow with you. Take the exam tutorial. It's good that you take all the exam tutorial at the end of each chapter and at the end of this program. We have put in about 500 questions are going to guide and help you to pass this exam. Now, preparing for the exam day, what it takes, you need to have your eligibility letter when you're going to the center with your authorization number on it. Your photo ID and two other photo forms of ID is important. Verify your name on the ID. Always note that Anthony is not the same thing as Tony because it's not going to be accepted. Also, when I wrote my exam, I had earphones available for me for use, but I didn't use them because they weren't necessary. Um, some people like to use earplugs. I don't use earplugs because the environment is already um, devoid of noise. Although you may take some food and drink with you, but you have to leave them outside. Usually, I went in after eating because I knew I was going to be in for about 4 hours. I took a lot of water rather and to give me energy. I took something else like a cake. You may take the locker key plus the provided calculator, pencil and paper into the test room, so you'll be provided with all these materials for you to use, especially when you just start the exam. You need to write your DUMs on these papers. Now let's talk about the brain dumps. A brain dump is important information that you write down as you are beginning your exam. We recommend that you write your brain dump during the tutorials of the exam. You have about 15 minutes when you start the exam. So what they give you 15 minutes to peruse the instruction and all that. During that period, you could save about 5 minutes to write out your DUMs. Your DUMs are like formulas, things, codes you've written down. You don't want to forget. Every DUM, every brain dump is personal. So you coded it, you can uncode it or decode it as well. The next couple of slides list items that I do to list in most cases. So these are the formulas that I had to put in on my head, and it was my responsibility to put them down before I start the exam. So it made my head lighter, and you know that most of them are coming from the cost and budget side of project management. These are more DOMs that we're going to talk about. What we've done is to list them and this section, especially the knowledge area they are up from. For instance, percentage for 1 to 3 sigma is under the quality knowledge area. The present and future value formulas comes under the cost knowledge area. Cost estimate range table costs comes under the cost knowledge areas, and as it goes down. Now, the more we go into each of these knowledge areas, the more we'll enlighten ourselves about these knowledge areas and brain dumps. Brain dumps are cool because they help you to guide yourself during the exam. What they basically do is to guide you in a time of need. You just call them up and they're there to your rescue. Now, the PMP exam often uses gray words. What we mean by gray words that they use words like generally and but can relate to shades of conditions. These gray words can take a bit of getting used to with great examples, sample example. Now the PMP exam, which is the PMP exam, can include questions with absolute words. So personally, for me, when I see words like always, never, completely, these are great words.